I'm so excited about this series. And I can say this without the fear of contradicting family. That if you apply what I'm educating you on, your life will change. Integrity impacts your faith. Integrity impacts your finances. Integrity impacts your family. If you, I'm trying not to use hyperbolic language. I'm trying not to exaggerate my point. But other than faith, integrity means the most. We're going to talk about this in a couple of weeks, but he or she who's faithful over little, that's integrity. That's why sometimes God will allow stuff to be taken away. Some of y'all frustrated, aggravated, and agitated because you feel like you got little. But the little is a lot. Because he's saying, if you show me you can be faithful over the little, if you show me you got the level of integrity to handle $100, man, you can get to the 1,000. If you got integrity over 1,000, man, I can put you in 5 figures. I can get you to, you can get, if you're faithful over the 50, man, you could be 6. Everybody say it's a test. Shoot. You can be faithful over. I knew I was ready to plant a church, that I was growing into the position God was preparing me for when we were downtown Broad Street and it was 20 people in a Bible study. And I was teaching like it was 20,000. God will test your heart. Today we're talking about mess, mayhem, and murder. When doing right goes wrong. Chosen family, I'd like to begin our conversation tonight with a question. An interesting interrogative. Have you ever made the right decision and it turned out detrimental? More simply said, has doing right ever gone wrong? Let me help you. Have you ever been honest with a friend, but instead of them drawing closer, they cut you off? Have you ever forgiven someone, allowed them back into your life, only to have them hurt you again? Have you ever genuinely, authentically shared your faith, only to have them get frustrated and say, you judging me? Have you ever given an unqualified person a job so that they have a second chance at purpose and prosperity, and they return the favor with underperformance and the lack of appreciation? Have you ever studied diligently, executed in excellence, graduated on time or even early, only to find yourself with a big old student loan and a little old job? Have you ever known someone that worked out diligently, drank the right amount of water, ate the right portion-sized food, didn't smoke, didn't drink, and still ended up with a deadly disease? I think everyone underneath the sound of my voice can testify. Yannik, I know how it feels when doing right can go extremely wrong. If we're honest, let's take off the church face for a moment and keep it real. When doing right goes wrong, we kind of feel like God messed up. We won't say it out loud, but we wonder if Psalm 121:4 is true. Indeed, he who watches over Israel never slumbers or sleeps. Sometimes we wonder if that's true, because when we're in pain and when we're suffering and when we're doing everything right, it feels like God is sleeping. Oh, y'all gonna act like that? Let me keep it real then. I'll testify. I've been so angry with God. I'll never forget when my mother died of AIDS. She wasn't sharing a needle, taking intravenous drugs. She wasn't sleeping with a stranger. She wasn't committing fornication. She wasn't involved in promiscuous activities. She was in a relationship with her husband. And it made me ask, God, why does doing right go wrong? Since y'all want to act like y'all so holy and you've never struggled with your faith. Your pastor has asked God, why does going right go wrong? Let's investigate what it means to hold on to our integrity when it feels like evil prevails. Look at Mark 6:17. Wasn't that a good introduction? Y'all like that introduction? I worked real hard. I worked real hard on that, y'all. Yeah. Thank you, man. When going right goes wrong, you know, you prepare for a message and nobody says big facts. You know? Preach anyway. JT. For Herod had sent soldiers to arrest and imprison John as a favor to Herodias. She had been his brother Philip's wife. Everybody say it's about to get messy. That's why you have to read the text slow, because it says she had been his brother Philip's wife. But, everybody say but. Herod married her. I told y'all, if you read the Bible, you can put down some of them soaps. This is reality TV at its best, for sure. John had been telling Herod, John the Baptist, the great preacher who laid the foundation for Jesus, his first cousin, Elizabeth's son. It is against God's law for you to marry your brother's wife. Herod, you being sloppy. Herod, you acting a bit thirsty. You the king. There's a lot of women you could date. Do you have to date your brother's wife? John had been sharing his faith with Herod. John was speaking truth to power. John was being a good leader. leader. John was showing love. John was putting his life at risk, telling somebody more powerful than him, more popular than him, somebody with more money than him, that they weren't making the right decisions. And I'm here to tell you, you got to be careful when you're speaking up. Because folk who think they have more power and folk that think they have more popularity and folk that think they got it going on don't like being told when they doing. Let me give you the context so you understand the text. Let me give you the context so you get the content. Here it is. Herodias, Sabrina, was first married to Herod Philip. The great Jewish historian Josephus says that the marriage of Herod Antipas with Herodias took place while he was on a journey to Rome. And he stopped at his brother's house, Herod Philip's, and fell in love with his wife. Herod is just a title. It means king. So Herod Antipas stopped by his brother, who was also a ruler, Herod Philip's home, and when they were eating breakfast, he was flirting with his wife. When they were having dinner and kicking it and talking about when they were growing up as young boys, he was flirting with his boo. And guess what? Herod Antipas stole Herod Philip's boo. Everybody say it's messy. You can't even trust your brother. Make you second guess some of them family reunions. There's some folk you shouldn't have to worry about leaving your wife a wallet with. There's some folk you should be able to leave your house and not be nervous. I'm glad I got some real homeboys in my life that if everything went down, I wouldn't have to worry about my wife. I wouldn't have to worry about my wallet. They could have all my accounts. They could have all my credit cards. They could have all my debit cards, and I wouldn't have to worry about a thing. But Herod Philip and Herod had trusted Herod Antipas, and Herod Antipas had no integrity. Everybody say it gets worse. Herodias was both Herod Antipas and Herod Philip's niece. Now you see why I titled the text Mess, Mayhem, and Murder. She was the daughter of their brother Aristobulus. Yeah. Even the chosen kids know that's messy. I'm going to just take my time with it. Herod Antipas was guilty of adultery and incest. And John, being a preacher, John being a true man of God, saw something that wasn't right in somebody's life, and he spoke truth to power. We cannot be afraid to be men and women of integrity. And when we see something that's not right, we need to be free to speak truth in tough situations. I'm not saying be Inspector Gadget, going to look for it, being hyper spiritual, but I'm saying when it's clear. It's clear you know your friend sleeping with somebody else's husband and you won't say nothing. It's clear you know your homeboy stealing from his job and you won't say anything. Oh, my jewelry falling off. Oh, have mercy. The devil got mad. Hey. He said, you give me another one. Who bought that? Camilla, you bought that for me? Somebody? That's why I don't take gifts from y'all on here. I keep telling y'all to grow up and y'all won't ever. So watch this. So Herodias bore a grudge against John and wanted to kill him. Now let me get this right. Herodias, you're Herod Antipas' niece. You used to be Herod Philip's wife. You left your husband for his brother, and you got the unmitigated gall to get an attitude because somebody calling you out on your mess. Isn't it amazing how folk can be dead wrong yet get an attitude with you? Let's keep going because I could stay there for another hour. But without Herod's approval, verse 19 said, she was powerless. For Herod respected John, and knowing that he was a good and holy man, he protected him. Herod was greatly disturbed whenever he talked with John, but even so, he liked to listen to him. I like that because sometimes people will be disturbed when you speak truth to them. But he continued to listen. That's why I love y'all so much, because I know that y'all leave on Saturday night disturbed sometimes. Y'all come up and tell me, Yannik, I can't stand you sometimes. Yannik, you are very aggravating. You step on my toes. It feels like you have a camera in my house. But even though I disturb you, you still... But this is why I say this is horrible leadership. Because Herod Antipas was too weak to really make a decision. It says he protected John, but you still threw him in prison for no reason. But now, it says that his wife wanted John killed, but he was still alive. Here's the problem with some leaders. They are too weak to really make a decision, so they end up being lukewarm, and there's nothing worse than lukewarm leadership. The worst decision is indecision, Ryan Harwood says. Listen, you too weak to kill him, so your wife ain't happy, and you too weak to let him free like you should be, so John the Baptist isn't happy. And this is what happens when you have weak leadership. You end up in no man's land. You end up trying to please everybody, and when you try to please everybody, nobody's happy. You are too weak to really do what's right. You trying to be a politician, trying to please everybody means no one is pleased. That's why, as a leader, you can't worry about everybody loving you. Sometimes you're going to lose friends. Sometimes you're going to lose members. Sometimes family won't want to mess with you anymore. But is there any leader in the house that's saying, I'm not putting any person over my purpose. I'm going to do what's right even though it's tough. I'm going to make a hard decision if I know it's going to help people. You may not thank me today, but you'll thank me tomorrow. Herod Antipas was weak. That's why most politicians can't get over a 50% approval rating. Because trying to please everybody means you please. Herodias' chance finally came on Herod's birthday. He gave a party for his high government officials, army officers, and leading citizens of Galilee. Then his daughter, also named Herodias, came in and performed a dance that greatly pleased Herod and his guests. Herodias was his stepdaughter. Herodias was Herodias' daughter. So his stepdaughter comes in and performs a dance that made Herod so happy, he said, ask me for anything you like, and I will give it to you. Herod, being a weak man, Herod, being led by his flesh, fell in love with a stripper. I mean, it's right there in the text. It's right there. He got so excited. Ask me for anything. Ladies, you know when they get excited, you know. I'm not going to tell y'all what I told my wife today. That's between us. But when men get excited, when you please them, it opens the door for favor. Y'all know what I'm talking about. She said, ask me. Dory, don't be whispering in her ear trying to figure out. You're right on the front row. Distracting me. I wish I had the time to talk about how sad it is when weak men are willing to give up their kingdom because of lust. He says, I will give you up to half of my kingdom because you make me happy. I will give you my future because you please my flesh. I wish I had the time to talk about how many weak men have lost purpose, have lost power because they were led by pleasure. You giving up half of everything you have just because she made you happy in a moment. A weak man has to have a lot of women. A weak man feels like their flesh gives them permission to do whatever they want to do. But real men of God, strong men, understand that I've got to be a man of discipline. There's some things that I have the power to do that I don't have God's permission to do. I've got to. But he was too weak. And when a weak man is in charge, the kingdom suffers. When a weak man is in charge, the church suffers. When a weak man is in charge, the home suffers. So now that she has this blank check, she went out and asked her mother, verse 24. What should I ask for? Her mother was scandalous. It's where the mayhem begins. I know we don't have any mothers like this. Ask for the head of John the Baptist. Woo! When a woman is fed up, give me the head of the prophet. Give me the head of the preacher. Not because he did anything wrong, not because he was disrespectful, but just because he spoke against what I wanted to do, just because he told me the truth. I'm here to tell you that everybody does not want the truth. Everybody does not want to grow. Everybody does not want to be what God has planned and purposed for them to be. She says, I want the head. That's why I get so angry with the prosperity preaching. people telling you that 1 + 1 always equals 2 to God, that if you give, you'll get rich, that if you just do this, you can control and manipulate God. Let me help somebody tonight. Just because you do the right thing does not mean the right thing is going to happen. And sometimes God will allow the wrong things to happen when you do the right thing to see if your faith is in the fruit or is your faith in the Heavenly Father. Is it your faith in the system or is the faith in your Savior? Just because you do right doesn't mean you get right. And you do right just because it's right, not because you believe you gonna get. She said, I want the head of John the Baptist right now on a tray. This lady cold-blooded. She told him what she wanted, when she wanted it, and how she wanted it. I want the head right now on a platter. And here's where the murder begins. Then the king deeply regretted what he had said because of the vows he had made in front of his guests. He couldn't refuse it. I like that though. As men and women of God, we have to understand our words have power. And that there's some stuff we say that we can't take back. That's why we gotta watch our tongue. Because when you try to take it back, it's like trying to get toothpaste back in the tube. Once you squeeze it out, it can't go back in. That's why some of our marriages are messed up now, because we let the wrong thing slip out our mouth. And you said you didn't mean it, but out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth. It came from somewhere. This is sad. Verse 27. So he immediately sent an executioner to the prison to cut off John's head and bring it to him. Everybody say that's sad. The soldier beheaded John in the prison, brought his head on a tray, and gave it to the girl, who took it to her mother. That's why I said I got to take my time, family, because it's a real thing. John was obedient to death. Oh, I told y'all I was going to teach y'all how to shout on substance. I'm here to impact you, not entertain you. I'm going to rewind and repeat that. John was obedient to death. I'm pretty sure John knew there was some risk, that doing what was right, sharing his faith, communicating his convictions could go wrong. But here's why I shout: because he was obedient to death. Not that he wasn't afraid, not that he had never had doubts, but ultimately his integrity, his knowledge of doing what was right was too strong to allow the possibility of crucifixion to change his convictions. We can't let crucifixion change our convictions. Which brings me to the question, family: to what point are we willing to be obedient to? You can threaten me with my job, but crucifixion isn't changing my conviction. You can try and take away my income, but you ought to shout. Your crucifixion is not changing my conviction. You can dump me. You can leave me alone. You can erase my number. You can stop following me. But let me help you with that. Crucifixion is not changing my conviction. You don't have to be my friend. If you think I'm stupid, if you think I'm too holy, I'm going to tell you that crucifixion. If he isn't changing my convictions. Yeah, you can have an attitude with me. You don't have to speak to me. You can walk around the house with a stinking attitude, but you still ain't getting that iPhone back until you learn to be appreciative. You still not getting that game back, but until you learn to make up your bed and do the dishes, until you're more thankful for stuff that you didn't pay for. Crucifixion. Hey, it's not changing my conviction. I don't care what you try to assault me with. I don't care if you get an attitude. I don't care if you try to cause me pain. I am not going to allow my feelings to get me out of what God has called me. Greatness is not determined by income. It's determined by your level of integrity. Greatness is not determined by your power. It's determined by your principles. Greatness isn't determined by the cash in your pocket. It's determined by your character and piety. The person with the most pay, the person with the most power, the person with the most popularity in this story is the person with the least amount of integrity. I'm here to help you to start chasing the right stuff. Chosen, I don't want you chasing income. I want you chasing integrity. Is there anybody here that's, no, I'm not chasing power. I'm chasing principles. I'm not chasing cash in the bank. I'm chasing character and piety. I'm not chasing greatness in position. I'm chasing greatness in piety. I know in this crowded church, I'm not the only one. I'm holding on to my convictions. I'm holding on to my character. You can't tip me with money. You can't tip me with a promotion. You can't tip me. Why? Because God can give me all of that and I can have my integrity. Oh, you should have stood up and shout. I don't have to lose my integrity to get income. I don't have to lose my piety to have more power. I don't have to change who I am just to get friends in my friend group. I can. It's too many Christians that chase power instead of principles. It's too many people that call themselves God-fearing people that lose their integrity over income. Don't miss this. Herod Antipas sought attention, but John could handle affliction. Weak people chase attention. Weak people are often the weakest are often the loudest. But here's how you know you have character. You're not chasing attention, but you can handle affliction. I don't care how popular I am, but I can handle this pain. I don't care how much power I have, but I can handle this test. I'm not chasing attention. I don't care how many followers I have. I don't care how popular, how many times you like my post. I'm not here for attention. I'm called and created to handle affliction. John the Baptist said, I'd rather die with character than live like a coward. I'd rather lose my head being honest than have my head and being a hypocrite. Oh, that's so good. I would rather die with my integrity than live like a coward. I'd rather die. I'd rather go on and be with the Lord in glory than give up my faith. A man who won't die for something is not fit to live. Martin Luther King said, we should be willing to die for our faith. We should be willing to die for our character. We should be willing to die for our integrity. We should be willing to stand on our faith. Yeah, it's going to be frustrations, but I can handle affliction. Yeah, there's going to be tests, but guess what, family? I can handle affliction. Yeah, there's going to be challenges, but I can handle affliction. Why? Because greater is the power in me than the power that's in the world. The same power that raised Jesus Christ from the dead is living in me. Yeah, I know I may not look like much on the outside, but don't judge me by what you see on my cover. You better judge me on my content. I know that I don't look like I'm all of that, but guess what? I got a God in me that is, and I'm going to die with my character, and I'm not going to live like a coward. I'm not going to make me afraid. God will give you the strength to handle your haters. You can look your hater in the face and say, I'm standing on my truth. I'm standing on my character. I'm standing on my integrity. I'm standing with my God. I'm standing with my Savior. Sleep, check this out. Matthew 5:11-12. You'll like this. God blesses you when people mock you. Let me move this chair out the way. I'm about to lose my mind. God blesses you when people persecute you. Is this thing on, Devron? Oh. God blesses you when people lie about you. God blesses you when people say all sorts of evil things against you. Here's the key. Because you are my followers. Yeah, that's key. Don't think God blesses you when folk don't like you because you acting stink. Don't walk out of here saying, oh, God gonna bless me because she got an attitude because you stole her husband. Don't walk out of here thinking the blessing is automatic. Here's the catchphrase. He blesses you when people mock you and persecute you and lie about you and say all sorts of evil things because you following him. Yeah, he'll bless you when you do what's right and you following him. He will give you a blessing when people talk about you because you following him. He'll give you a blessing when people lie about you because you living like him. Oh, you ought to get excited. You thought the blessing was the new house. You thought the blessing was in the new car. You thought the blessing was in the promotion. You thought the blessing was in the paycheck. He said the blessing is when people mock you. The blessing comes when they persecute you. The blessing comes when they lie about you. Next time somebody lies on you, just walk by and say thank you for the blessing. Next time somebody persecutes you, I dare you just to walk by their cubicle and say thank you for the blessing. I dare you the next time. Oh, that was a blessing. I heard what you say about me, and you're not going to let me to lose my character and talk behind your back. Thank you for the blessing. Oh, yeah, I heard what you said, and no, it wasn't true, but you'll get a blessing. I remember when me and my family first moved to Augusta, and I was working at this church, and I was doing my best to live in integrity, and I challenged some of the leadership there, and after a huge conference that was very, very successful, I walked into the office of the senior leader there, and he gave me a piece of paper. And the conference had gone so well, I had the unmitigated gall to think that maybe there was a little bonus check in there or something. But the paper said that my services were no longer needed. And I was confused. I was conflicted because I had never been written up. I had never been scolded by any of the leadership. But the letter said my services were no longer needed. And I was a member of this church. I wasn't just a youth pastor there. I was a giver to this church. My family, my wife ran the youth ministry, the toddler town there. But our services were no longer needed. And I remember going to my next church to serve as a youth pastor there. And there were whispers that Yannik got fired because he was messing with somebody in the church. Because after all, who gets fired for no reason? But me. And I found out that when women would email me, they copy their husband because they thought he's not trustworthy. And I remember being so angry, so filled with vitriol. How am I going to clear my name? I remember talking to my wife about the accusations, and we just laughed and laughed, but because the person, that one of the people that was accusing me let's just say she wasn't my type. Didn't we laugh, Linda? I said, even if I was a sinner, there's nobody in this church that I would have even taken out to get a meal. If you don't sit your own... We laughed and laughed, and that's one of the reasons I love my wife and one of the reasons I walk with integrity, because sometimes when people challenge your character, you're going to need integrity to stand on. So she didn't flinch. She wasn't even worried about it. She already knew. And God said, Yannik, stop trying to defend yourself, because the truth is going to eventually come out. And guess what came out? The truth. And guess what happened? I got promoted. And so... But it was a test. Yannik, are you preaching for me? Are you preaching for fans? Are you preaching for power? Or will you do this for free? Or will you go somewhere else and keep serving? I know you moved all the way from Atlanta to Augusta and you got kicked out the parsonage and now you got to go back to work a full-time job. But will you work a full-time job and go serve for free to keep doing what I called you to do? Here, Yannik, if you honor me, I'm going to bless you one day. One day I'm going to plant chosen in your heart, and it's going to be one of the fastest growing ministries in the Southeast. I'm going to give you a vision that's going to change lives all across the nation. And it happened when I got persecuted. God will bless you when you persecute it for his sake. God will put us in positions where doing right goes wrong. Don't blame yourself because it didn't work out the way you planned. I know that's automatically where we go. We begin judging ourselves too harshly. We begin doubting our decisions. But let me help you. God will make it make sense one day. God will give you clarity. God will give you wisdom. God will give you the strength to stand. God will not leave or forsake you. God will make... Don't lose your faith in the middle of your frustration. Live with integrity, even if it costs you.